green screen keying in NUKE Studio. Okay, on the left here we have the tools and we have the keyer tab. We have a few keyer options: primat, keylight, ultimate. You've got also the IBK gizmo and IBK color, the duo that works with the image-based keying. Okay, now which choice are we going to have? Because I want to get NUKE a little bit closer to the users of After Effects, I'm going to use keylight, okay? But hold on a moment. Generally, when we make, when we have green screen keying, we use several keyers and we ask each one of them to take care of a particular aspect of the image, right? And this is exactly what we're going to do. But we're going to do it twice with keylight. So we're going to combine two keyers, both of them keylights. One of them is going to take care of one aspect and the other one is going to take care of the other aspect. Well, generally, what kind of aspects do we care about? When we want to split, there are different things you want to worry about in terms of splitting your image, but generally, you tend to care more about the split core edge, okay? So the core mat and the edges require different approaches, so you cannot do it with the same keyer, all right? If you can try, you're going to end up with something you don't want to see, right? Because it's a compromise. You're hurting the mat, the core mat, and you're hurting the edges. That's the final result. So why don't you just get yourself two keyers, even if it's the same, and that's what we're gonna do. Let me just bring them now. Keylight, that's number one, and let me bring keylight number two. Right, okay. I'll just increase this a little bit, and we get keylight number one, keylight number two. This one, number one, is going to take care of the core mat. The core mat is important because we should not have any transparency in there. What does that mean? The approach that keylight one is going to take is going to be quite drastic. It is not going to care about the edges. Actually, it's going even to remove the edges because we should not worry about the edges when we're working on the core mat. Now, keylight number two has another task. It's only the edges. Only the edges, nothing else. Even if keylight number two sees transparency in the core mat, it doesn't care because it focuses exclusively on the edges. So this one is exclusively core mat, exclusively edges. Where you add them together, you get what? You get a beautiful mat with the edges and the core together. Okay, let's do that. But the approach is an advice. It's going to be different, actually contradictory. So the approach for keylight number one is contradictory with the approach in here. So whatever advice you hear for this one should in no circumstance whatsoever be applied to number two. And whatever advice you hear for keylight number two should in no circumstance whatsoever be applied to keylight number one. We are talking about two extremes. All right, so let's start with keylight number one. And I'm going to do something drastic here. So let's just connect the source and then press 1 to get the keylight bit. Okay, where is keylight? Between brackets, please, when you're working with two keyers that are of the same family, I've got keylight number one and keylight number two. The last one you add is the one that has the properties open. Now you see that I have this one selected in here and I was about to start tweaking, but then hold on a moment, this is keylight number one and this here says keylight number two. So I want you to get in the habit of closing completely the properties and reopening. Yes, it looks like an additional step, but it's way safer than tweaking all the stuff and then realize that you've just been working on the wrong keyer, okay? Because the node graph, the properties, and the viewer are independent from each other. When you select something here, it doesn't update here, and it doesn't update here, okay? So it gives you flexibility, but at the same time, you need to be careful with that. I close the brackets, and then I go back to my drastic approach for keylights. I'm going to start with something that generally is advised not to do. But let's first select the color. Okay, you click on this color picker, and you do what? You press Control and click. Now, you can keep clicking, but what I'll do now is just release. I don't want you to get in the habit of just click somewhere. That's not how we do it. We don't click somewhere, just like that. We need to do it, we need to click knowing what we need. So because keying works with alpha, let me switch to alpha. How did I do that? I just pressed A on the keyboard, or you can come here and select the alpha. Okay, instead of RGB, you just select the alpha. Okay, good. All right. What do we have? Oh, sorry, this one, alpha. So instead of the RGB, the alpha. Okay. What do we have now? So this is the selection that we have made. Now, I did not make this selection. Actually, I just wanted to activate the alpha, right? What happened? But it's really good to see. Let me just increase this one so that we see. I know it's not a high resolution thing, it's just a thumbnail, but it helps to understand. You see that I have chosen, okay, clearly the footage that I've chosen is of very bad quality. It's a stock footage, and this has 5 mistakes, 5 phenomenal mistakes. This footage has 5 phenomenal mistakes. Well, you know what? Let's talk about them quickly, and then we come back to our keyer. Let me reset this keyer here and go back to the RGB. Very quickly, phenomenal mistakes in this one. It's a stock footage. It's not our project, so I've just chosen this one to show you how hard it is when you make such mistakes. Number 1, it's not evenly lit, right? Number 2, the actors are too close to the green screen. You should have a few meters away from the green screen to avoid what? To avoid the spill, but also to avoid the shadows. So what is this? You got shadows on, unless your intention is to replace this green screen with a 3D wall or something, and then you want to have these shadows. That's a different story. But still, when you are using a keyer that is different than IBK, and you don't have your own clean plate, then you're losing the shadows anyway. Okay, number 3, we talked about the first one, the lighting, but now the lighting for the actors is poor because they're using the same lighting for the green screen as for the actors. They don't have separate lighting because they are so close to the green screen, right? So normally it should be far enough, and then the green screen is lit separately. Yeah, the lights you use for green screen are not the ones that you're going to use for your actors. You could even have different temperatures on the lights, that you go with cooler for the green screen and warmer for the actors. But you need to have different lighting. So this is number 3. Number 4 is, what was number 4? Number 4 is the compression. This footage is of rubbish quality. It is H.264. VFX, green screen, keying. The biggest enemy of VFX and green screen keying is compression. So when you're shooting, please use raw or ProRes high quality stuff. Don't go any lower than 4 to 10 bits. Don't go any lower than 4 to 10 bits. Okay, and there's another 5th mistake. I don't remember. Yeah, the 5th mistake. There are no tracking markers. There are no tracking markers. But okay, we have closed now the square bracket for the bracket for the 5 mistakes. But the idea is that I'm showing you and demonstrating a technique, robust technique for rubbish quality video. But this is not an excuse that during your filming you're going to come with rubbish quality. Okay, during filming you are going to make sure that you have something of great quality, because compression is losing color information and keying is all about color. Okay, right, let's come back here and do again our lovely color picker, control, selector. I'll just do that one more time, control and then select. Okay, you press control and you press on the color picker and then press in here. When I select a light, I'm just press A again. This is okay because it's not evenly lit, and it's poorly lit actually, not just evenly. It's the light. There's only one light here. We can see that it's bright here and it's less bright here and it's less bright here. There are no lights on the right, no lights on the left. It's the exact typical mistake you don't want to make, but it helps us understand a few things. Yeah, when we work on footage that is full of mistakes, it helps us understand a few things. What did I select? I've selected the light green. When I select a light green, it selects what? The light green. Okay, now it sounds like it's logical, but hold on a moment. Let me go back and let me try something else. This is dark, right? Okay, let me come back and select this dark one. Just on a moment, control. And I'm going to select this one. One more time. Okay, let me select this. And press A. Right, what just happened? Now, when I select a dark green, it tends to include with it the light greens. Okay, so light green or saturated does not include dark unsaturated, but dark unsaturated, once selected, does include light and saturated. But of course, and when we selected here, we have just selected one flavor of the green and we still have some noise, okay? So let's go back now and say which one should we choose. So what do we have? We have here, just a moment, one more time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is come to the darkest green I have. I think it's somewhere. All right, when I do that, I have selected most of the greens, but I still have some noise in here, right? Still have some noise. So I'm going to go to the advice number 1, which is opposite all advice you've heard so far. Generally, I advise not to go too far with the screen gain. Okay, screen gain is going to clean this black, but actually you should do that with what? With the clip black. What I'm going to do is do exactly the opposite and go and exaggerate this one. Let's go with, I'll just increase it here. Increase the screen gain to the point where it becomes crazy. Right, okay, so I've got here like 1.17, which is enormous. You should never go anywhere more than 1.03, 1.05 to the maximum. But in this case, it's a different approach. What did we say? Key light number 1 does not care about the edges. And what happens when you increase screen gain? It gives you clean black, which actually you should have worked on using the clip black, but it gives you clean black, but it hurts your edges a lot. Key light number 1, by coincidence, happens not to care about those edges. Okay, so we move down here to the next parameter that we're going to tweak, and this is what? This is the clip white, because we need to have this solid matte. Now, what is the mission, the reason of existence? What's the task of key light 1? Is to make sure that this is solid. So this is completely unacceptable. Having here his shirt with light grays that are transparent, this is absolutely, the mission of key light number 1 is to give us a solid white. Not care about edges, yes, but solid white. So we're going to go to clip white. There's clip black, which cleans the blacks, and clip white, which cleans the whites. Now, what does it really do in the background? Because I need you to understand mathematically what happens. Not really that I'm asking you to understand the mathematics behind it, but what are you really doing when you're pushing these sliders? What are you really doing? Now, you notice there's a number here, black and there's 0, and then white and there's 1. Why? Because black is 0 and white is 1. What does that mean? This pixel over here, if I just stand somewhere, this pixel over here is 0, right? If I go here, these are whites, this is white, okay? So these are zeros and these are whites. If I then start going down from 1, this is 1, these pixels are 1, okay? So I just want to mention 0 and 1. 1 means if I bring this one a little down, what am I actually doing? I'm asking NUKE to go down to the pixels that have a value of, say, okay, let me stop at 0.8. Value of 0.8. What is 0.8? It's light gray. It's the gray that's closer to the white. It's the gray that's closer to the 1. I'm asking NUKE to go down from the 1 and go searching for those light grays that are close to the 1 and convert them into 1. So anything between 1 and 0.8, bring it down, 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 until I don't care. I just need it to be all white. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to exaggerate, but all I need is all white. That's it. Now, we have gone way far, but not way too far. We need it. We're going to keep it. Fine. Now, we're going to find, can you see here? This rubbish stuff over here. Okay, this needs to be cleaned, but I'm not saying cleaning as in the edges. I'm saying cleaning as in the board, the background. Now, this part of the edge I don't care about, but I do care about this one, which is floating in the background, because this is going to cause a problem. This is not edge, because it's disconnected from the edge. This is edge. I don't care about it. Okay, so we're going to need to clean. Come over here. Can you see this? This is a problem. This is a problem. This is why we said when we increased green screen gain, maybe it was not enough, but it's a good opportunity to use another parameter, which is clip black, and we're going to do it right now. Okay, let's first make sure that our clip white is working properly. What are these things? I press on A, these are reflective objects, and yes, even if you are far from what, this one is even worse, very close to the green screen, but even if you're far from the green screen, reflective objects do reflect, even if it's far. So if you have shiny shoes, if the actor has shiny shoes, it is going to reflect. Even if you're 4 meters away, it is going to reflect, okay? So what is this stuff? This happens to be in the edges, so I do care, but not so much because it's in the edges. I can help a little bit like this, but for the rest, that's it. Anything closer to the edges, we have gone way far. But then I genuinely do not care because key light number one, okay, key light number one doesn't care because the edges are, so now what I've done is really, can you look at these edges? They look horrible. But guess what? We just don't care, right? Because we care about the core mat. This looks solid. This is good. Now, this is, no, when I increase the whites, I have started converting this. Well, with this, where does this one come from? Where did it come from? Because we thought we cleaned the black. There's a trick, actually, to see if you've really cleaned the black or not. You're going to activate this Y, which is toggle the gamma. And then when you start increasing it, you'll be able to see that actually you have not, okay, this we should have done actually even earlier so that I could, but now this is all what's left because we've killed all the other grays. This is one way, which is like just to increase the gamma to be able to see what you have. You know what, let's just do it. Let's do it one more time. I'm going to reset all of this stuff because I need you to be able to work with this one. Let me just go back to normal gamma. Let me just select. I'm going to select the same thing just quickly. There we go, and select. Right, something like this, and we go back to the alpha, and we said we have increased the gain, the screen gain until it has become crazy, and we said, okay, yeah, probably it's clean. Wait, hold on a moment. Is it really clean? This is why I said probably it's good to have a look at the Y in here. And when you start increasing it, you could end up with some nasty things in here. But in this case, 1.21. The last time I've stopped at 17, right? But now it's like I've cleaned it all. Okay, this is what you may end up not seeing if you don't. Okay, let me just show you the example. 1 to 11, something like this. This gives you the impression. Okay, this one, 1.17 gives you the impression it's gone. But when I click on Y and I increase the gamma, I can see there's still some stuff there. So this is a trick if you want to see if it's cleaned or not. Okay, so let's go back now and we're going to, yeah, it's a good opportunity to work on the clip blacks. But now let's bring in the whites again. Where were they? Where were they? Here. Okay, and then we increase the black. But what does that mean? Black, same story, same story. What do I have here? These pixels are here. Black, which is 0. I have light grays. Darker grays in here, but these are not 0. I am going to increase this a little, which basically means I'm asking NUKE to go to pixels that have 0.06 as a value and convert them into 0, make them black. Okay, so I have now taken care of this. Let me just go back to my whites and make sure they are really, really, really white. Cool. Okay, those edges are edges we don't worry about. Now, I really have very, very nasty edges, but that is not a problem. Okay, this is done now. And then you think, whoa, hold on a moment. You can't do this. Of course I can, because this is key light 1. It has worked on the alpha, on the core mat. It has given us core mat. That's it. The game is over. It needs now to give this information to key light number 2 to work on the edges. Now, key light number 2 is going to work on the edges independently, taking it from the source, but the alpha, it will take it later. Okay, but before we proceed any further, there's something else that needs to be done. Okay, when it comes to giving this alpha, this is not clean. This, yes, it has given us a clear core mat, but we are not going to give the rubbish edges to key light number 2. We need to remove the edges. So step number 1 is get yourself a solid core mat. Step number 2, because it's not key light's business, the edges, and it has ruined them, it needs to remove them. What does remove edges mean? Okay, we come here, down, and there's something called screen dilate, okay? Now, screen dilate is dilate and erode, which is like matte choker, if you're familiar in After Effects, matte choker. Dilate is inflate, and the opposite of dilate is erode, which basically means if I go down, that is eroding, that's not dilating. So let me show you. If I bring it down, I'm just eroding the mat. I shouldn't be doing this. This is not taking off edges. This is taking a lot of your core mat. Let me go back to 0. And then we're going just to remove the nasty parts. Okay? Nasty. Okay, hold on. I've got some floating pixels here. I don't like this. Floating pixels means I need to go a little bit higher with my screen gain. Good. Right, I like this. Much better. 1.21. Yeah, it was the magic number. Okay. Cool. See these edges? We don't want them. What I'm going to do is erode. Don't go off board, please, with eroding. Yes, we need to remove the edges, but sometimes you hear people saying -10, -30. That is not going to help you. That is not going to help you. You need just to remove those nasty edges. What's an edge? It is an edge. It can't be 30%. An edge is not 30%. So you don't want to go any higher than -3. Sorry, any lower, which basically means don't push further to the left any lower than -3. Let me see. -2. I may have some nasty things in there. So let's push. Let's make it -3. Let's make it -2.5. Okay, nice. What have I done? I have removed. Okay, -3. I have removed the edges. I have core mat. Now it looks ugly in the edges because that's not what we care about. We just care about the core mat. Now the edge is something that the other one is going to have to work on. Cool. This is done. Step number 2. And there's step number 3, which is it needs now to give that information to key light number 2. How does it do that? Simple. Have you noticed? You remember there are a few advice pieces that you hear about key light, and one of them is you should never work with the final result. We didn't even care about this when we were working, did we? We didn't care. We didn't care about the edges. We didn't care about the final result. We didn't care about the screen gain. We just increase it like hell. We did whatever we wanted because the approach is quite simple. Give me a core mat, period. All advice you've heard so far does not apply. Give me the core mat and that's it. But when it comes to moving the mat to another keyer, yes, you need to change from final to intermediate only because you need to pass it over. All right? Yes, when you work on the key light number 2, you're going to work on the intermediate. Actually, you're going to work on different ones as well. But for the first one, we didn't care. We don't care. We do now. We finished work. We need to pass that information. We need to select intermediate result. Okay? Not for key light 1, but to pass the information to key light number 2. Okay. Now that we have finished this part, let's come back and select what? Select source and connect it. What happens actually when we do this? When we click View Intermediate Result and we connect the source to the key light here, let me just come over here and press 1 and go back to, oh, that's really nice. This white is really nice. Exactly what I wanted to explain. Okay, what happened when we connected the source? Did we not pass the information of the alpha? Well, we've just spent quite some time working on our mat and we have an alpha. We have removed, yes, without the edges, but we have an alpha. Where is it gone? It is in a waiting room. You can look at it that way. You can think of it that way. It's in a waiting room. Why is it in a waiting room? Because key light number 2 has never acknowledged receipt of any mat. For a simple reason that you don't only change the parameters in key light number 1. You need to change the parameters in key light number 2 as well so that it gets it. It's not just about giving, it's giving and receiving. The giving parameters we've tweaked in key light number 1, but the receiving parameters have not been set in key light number 2. So what happens? It's somewhere in between. It is in a waiting room. Okay, it is there, available for use, as long as we change the parameters in key light number 2. Okay, so it is in waiting room. We don't care now about this one, what we got from key light number 1. Leave it in the waiting room. We're going to work on that later. We'll come back here, press A, and we are going to do the work as if we started from scratch, because we need to start from scratch. Why? We're going to work on the edges, and only on the edges. All right, so now I'm going to close, get in the habit of closing, because otherwise I'm going to start tweaking your key light number 1 and ruining it. Close, double click, and now we're going to start working. Again, as if we've never worked on key light number 1. Keep control pressed, and we're going to select what? Not the dark greens, but now somewhere softer, somewhere like a little bit here. Okay, let me go to the A. This is a good start. Why? When you select the dark greens, we said that you hurt the edges. The cleaner your black, the more you hurt your edges. That's a rule. So we don't want to start from the beginning by hurting the edges, because key light number 2 only cares about the edges. This is why we need to go a little bit softer. Go for an intermediate value where you think, I have a lot of noise. That's a good news. You start and you see you got a lot of noise in the black. Well, that's a good news. Tell you what, I'm going to make it not even worse, but I'm going to make this one. I'm going to work on the edges here. I'm going to make it black. Okay, I'm going to make it black, but I'm going to do it in such a way that is so gentle. There's a gentle way, and there's the key light 1 drastic way. Let me show you the gentle way, because the gentle way works only for the edges, and it's not going to help you for the core mat. You're going to see we are going to have nasty transparency, but we don't care. Okay, so let's work on these edges. There is a lovely parameter, a wonderful, that is your friend, that's the magic, that's your key, that's your secret weapon when it comes to edges. When you go this route, there's one that's called clip, roll, back. This is your friend. So what does it do? Let me explain once we start working on the stuff. Screen gain, okay. What do? We don't touch it. Okay, we don't touch it. But for fun, we're going to go with 0.3, like the maximum. Just tell you, okay, you can do it, but you know what? Don't go any higher than 3 or 5 maximum. Like even if you have nasty background. I would even recommend you stay with 1. Okay, but for fun, I'm just doing 0.3. Okay, let's move now to clip black. Now we're not going to do screen balance. Do you know what screen balance is? You're actually changing the color that you have chosen. But we don't want to change the color we've chosen. We have deliberately chosen a color, a particular green, that gives us a lot of noise, but at the same time keeps our edges. You see how lovely the edges look? Well, I know they're surrounded by noise, but they look lovely. You don't have those okay, when you get closer, you see some pixels, but that's because it's a compressed footage, right? And I've given you this technique with a compressed footage, with a very bad footage, so you see that it works. Again, not an excuse to work with bad footage. Right, so we're not going to touch screen balance in any circumstance whatsoever for key light number 2. For clip black, yeah, we have to do that. Clip black is the ultimate, and clip white, clip black are the ultimate parameters when it comes to cleaning your mat. But now I'm going to do it in such a way that I go a little bit like this, go up, go up, go up, go up. Yes, am I hurting my edges? Yes, I am hurting my edges, but hold on a moment. That magic trick is still coming. It's not magic, it's just mathematics actually. So increase, 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 increase until the last pixel. And not more than that. The last pixel is gone. Gone. Okay? All right. What have I just done? Well, it's a little bit like what we've done for key light number 1. Yes, we've taken a different route, but we just ended up with something similar. Not exactly. When you work with clip black, and even if you go that far, you have the option to roll back. What does roll back actually really do? While it may feel like canceling what you've done and going backwards, yeah, like making a U-turn, it's making a U-turn in a different way, in a beautiful way. Let me exaggerate. Clip rollback to show you the beauty of the work. I'm going to push it way high. Can you see? We are, yes, rolling back. It's like canceling, returning on the work we have done in clip black. But where did we start? We don't start just anywhere. We start from the edges. What's the beauty of this trick? Is that, okay, now we need to bring it back to reasonable, is that you can go back only for the edges. And this way, that's it. 0.8 sounds like enough for me. Okay, so this is how we preserve the edges. Basically, we're going to roll back what we've done. Wait, I've got some transparency here on the shirt. This looks nasty. It does look nasty, but guess what? Key light number 2 does not care because it's not his work. His work is only the edges. Have we worked on the edges? Yes. Do they look gorgeous? Absolutely. What gorgeous means just that we haven't heard them, basically. All right, so this, what is this? Well, this is part of the rollback. What have we done? We have used up to 0.8, but alpha is not going to help us enough to see what we're doing, so we're going to go a little bit down. 0.7, we could end up with 0.45, 47, 35 even. But the idea is that we are going to, what we could absolutely do is dilate, erode. We could, I'm resisting the temptation to go way down on the rollback, but you could do that, but I really prefer not to. So what I will do instead is stay on my 3, 7, or 4 and erode instead. What have I done? What have I done? I've gone beyond the borders of the edges. Now, I've got more than the edges. That's what's going on. When you work on, oh, sorry, did I press A somewhere? Yeah, A. When you look at this, it looks great. But we've just gone far beyond the edge. We've worked so well on the edges that we have added more edges to the edges. Well, that's not good. So what I'll do is, yes, I want to roll back to the maximum I can, but at the same time, not hurt the edges. I'll just do it manually with screen erode, with dilate. So I was going to build a -1. That is way too much. Minus 0.1. That's not enough. Minus 0.5-ish. Okay, I get the idea. Minus 0.8. Probably it was that one, maybe. 9. Okay, let's go with the 9. Let's go with the 1. Okay, what happened now? I have restored the edges and I have gone beyond my edges because I have to make sure I work on the edges properly. It's like I've covered them and I've gone even further. But to push myself a little bit back, I have used the erode. Eroding, not touching the edges, just the white line that is the nasty line surrounding it. Well, what do we have now? Edges are clean. See the shirt here? That is really, really bad transparency. But you know what? Again, yes, I know. You know it by now. We don't care. Cool. Now comes the point where we're finished. We have finished working on the edges, right? We're finished. So key light number 1 has finished doing its work. With step number 1, finished doing its work, which is core mat. Number 2 is remove the edges because they're not going to be used. Number 3 is change view to intermediate so that it goes to the key light number 2. Now, key light number 2 has step number 1, which is work on the edges, and has step number 2, which is receive the alpha from key light number 1. Let's go and get that alpha. Cool. How do we do that? Number 1, we need to go to here, combine mat. So we're going to combine the mat. That's combined mat. Okay. Ooh, what just happened? Hold on a moment. We have a few things that need to be tweaked. Because when you come down here inside mask, source alpha, you say ignore. Now I don't want to ignore it. We've worked so hard on so aggressively on key light number 1 that we don't want to ignore it. This is why when you ignore the alpha, the first key light output, what is coming out of key light 1, is coming out opaque because we're ignoring the alpha. We should not do that. we should take into account the alpha. So we add to inside mask. When you add to the inside mask, then what happens? Hold on a moment. Let me change this to composite. Right. Okay. Now, when we work, okay, composite, when we're going to come to add both. Okay, we're going to have now. Let me change that for you. Source alpha, ignore, add to inside mask. Ignore, add to inside mask. See, what do we have? We have the core mat from keylight. Remember that one? And we have the edges from keylight number 2. This rubbish work inside in the core mat of keylight number 2 does not matter anymore because we have gotten the mat from the core mat from keylight number 1. This is now inviting that. Remember, we put it in the waiting room. Now we have opened the door of the waiting room and say, come over here, we're using you. Okay, now are we done? No, there's another step, step number 3. If you just keep it in mind, there are 3 steps for each one of those keylights, but they're different. Okay, step number 1 for keylight number 2 was what? Was to take care of the edges. Step number 2 was to bring in that mat from keylight number 1 by changing to combined mat and add to inside mask, and you go to composite to see the result. Okay, and now we press A. We got a bit closer, and then you think, hold on a moment, this looks rubbish. Of course it looks rubbish, because not only the video quality is rubbish, but keying a rubbish video gives you even more rubbish results. But there's something you need to be aware of. So what happened? A keyer takes color information. When it doesn't find enough information, it takes something that could be the wrong thing, okay? So what do we have? Compression is basically ruining color information. You don't have enough color information. Have you noticed his shoulders? On the left, it doesn't look that bad. On the right, you have some nasty things going on. Why? Because that shoulder is closer to the green screen. Now, number 1, he shouldn't be there at all. He should be way further from the green screen. But whatever, we have to deal with this now. How do we do that? We are going to change the colors. So let me just see here. See the trousers, all full of dark dots in here. Dark dots that we did not have in the first. Let me just press here, press 1. We didn't have that here. Let me show you the shoulder. We didn't have that here. Yes, we had, okay, compression. That's like, looks bad, compression, but that's it. But when you come here, that's a different story altogether. We have ruined color information by keying compressed footage. It's not. It's a combination of mistakes that ended up with this rubbish, right? It's the guy is too close to the green screen. The video was compressed. All sorts of things, right? And the lighting is poor and whatever. So, how do we deal with that? Well, it's quite simple. Inside replace. Replace the inside with the source. What is the source? Is this one? This is the source. This is your source. We're going to replace with the source. So we come to our keylight number 2 to make sure I'm working on the same one. Inside replace source. When I do so, what happens? Something happens. Okay, 2 things, a good news and a bad news. The good news is, yes, we have got this color. The bad news is, yes, we have got this color. And what is this color? Where it's got spill. Now this one has got spill. Now the keyer takes away the green. So when you bring in the real colors, the source colors, you bring in the green again. So that means we're going to have to take that away. And that is this spill. Okay, that's another story. So now let me connect to the background, please. And when you are keying, it's always good that you do it when you're compositing. Now, when we work, when it comes to keying, you do it with a clean mat. You don't even need to have the background connected. When it comes to compositing, which is now the next step, basically this spill is going to have to be as part of the compositing bit, like the color matching bit with the background. Yeah. I want you to just keep in mind that whenever you're compositing with a green screen, you're compositing with your own background. The idea is not to make your alpha such perfect that it is composable with don't know if this verb exists or whatever that is exists. If it's composable with any background on the planet Earth, you have one particular background that you want, and that is the one that you're going to use for compositing. Right? So this is the one we're going to start now matching the colors with, and we start with the display. Let's center this one with H and have a look at this. Okay, this, we have the spill here. Maybe you can't see it that clearly, but we have green spill because we have brought the original colors. And here it's obvious. It's obvious. You've got blue and you've got something that really doesn't look blue. It's not green, but when you add green to blue, you get this stuff that you see here. Okay, that's what we have. So we are going back now and we're going to do a dispill. There are different techniques for dispill, and I just thought, hold on a moment, why don't we enrich your toolbox? What if I give you another technique, like another way of doing it? Shall we do that? Okay, so how do we do it? There's one other way, which is, let me just move this one away, which is using an expression. Don't worry, it's very simple, very short, sweet, and lovely. I know it may sound a bit too mathematic stuff, and if you're not using to programming or whatever, it's just a very sweet one. Just be with me a second. I'm going to add an expression. So, alter expression. We're going to talk to Nuke and just tell Nuke, there's some green over there. Can you please remove it? That's all. Actually, with an expression where we say, can you convert? When you say remove, what does it mean? What does remove a color mean? You need remove means add the opposite color from the color wheel. So if you remove green, you're adding what? That's it. Cool. That's what we're going to do. So we are going to come here to the expression. The expression looks like this, and then you have channels. And we want to work on the green. This one is ticked, is crossed, so we've got the green, so we're going to have to write something here. This is our expression. How complicated is that expression? Very simple. We want to have green. Okay? You say, if the green, when you find that the green is, and I'm going to make a mistake deliberately here, okay? So I'm just warning you, I'm going to make a mistake, but I'll show you how to fix that. If the green, not mistake in the expression, but in the approach, so that you can avoid it. Green is higher than red. Whenever you find green higher than red, basically areas of spill, you will find green higher than red. Then what should you do? You are going to make the red same as green. That's all. 7 letters. That's how sweet this expression is. It's quite simple. Actually, it gives you could go a little bit stylish and creative with it. You could even change it to blue if you want, but we're going to work with the red now. So what did we say? Whenever you find green is higher than red, please make the red and the green the same. What is green and red and stuff? You know that a pixel has red, green, blue, alpha information. Right? This is what we find in here. You've got red, green, blue, alpha. So we say whenever this value is higher than this value, make this value equal this value. So this is how we are going to target the green spell, okay? So when it's higher, means it's too much, so it's above the threshold, okay? So this is it, and I'm going to press on enter. What have I just done? I've done something nasty. Why? Because I have worked on the whole image, including the background. Let me show you. I'm going to disable. Can you see? I'm disabling expression. Can you see back here the trees, the green space? Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it's doing. It's just making green and red equal, which removes a lot of green from the stuff. We don't want to do that, do we? Of course not. Well, do you remember we had worked on an alpha here? A core mat? Fantastic. This is why I wanted you not to go off board with the eroding. And you shouldn't go to -10 or -30 because you may need it down the road, which is the case now. We have just eroded by -3 pixels, kind of. Okay, so I'm going to use this as a mask. This is a mask. So I'm saying, can you connect this? You remember that core mat we used? Let's connect it here. And I have just masked out the background. So I am now, I've just now equaled the green and the red where there's spill. So do we have spill? We don't have spill anymore. That is now what we have. Now this can have an effect on the colors, but then it's something you can tweak later. Let me show you how. Okay, let me press H, and then we come now. We are now still in the, we're not still in the keying part. We've finished, but green screen keying is not just green screen keying. We need to composite it, which means that it needs to look realistic. Yes, we've gotten rid of the green screen of the green spill in a different way. I actually just wanted to show you this so that you add it to your toolbox. But realistic, it needs to look realistic. So we are in the compositing phase where the foreground and the background need to match. Look at this background, it looks bright, and look at the foreground. One of the mistakes is the lighting was poor. They were lighting the green screen and the actors with the same light, which is somewhere above. There's nothing on the left, nothing on the right, there's nothing. So the lighting was poor. Let's fix this. Okay, so we're going to bring in a color correct node. Okay, color correct node, and I'm going to make the same mistake again. Let's do it. Color correct, or you know what? You know it by now, so it's no longer fun. So let's mask, because if I color correct anything now, I'm color correcting the whole thing, including the background. All right, and I don't want to do that. The background needs to stay the background. Unless you want to target just the background, then you're going to have your color correct somewhere after this one, right? You could do that. You could just come here and say color correct. Where's that color correct? There we go. And then you can do whatever you want. You can make it even, yeah, black and white. Got it. Whatever you want. But that's working on it separately. That's not what we want. What I want is to target only the foreground. These gentlemen weren't lit properly. So I'm going to mask again with the key light, so that now when I work on the gain, which is the reason why I want to relight these people, you could now, I use color correct rather than grade, because grade gives you less options in terms of shadows, midtones. Color correct gives you more options, gives you the ability to work on shadows separately, on midtones separately, highlights separately. Though I don't need it now because the whole thing is messed up. The whole lighting is messed up, so I need to work on the whole image. So I'm going to do 1.1 to light them, okay? And probably just for a little bit more detail, I'm going to add 1.1 of contrast. Something like this, probably, or a little bit less, maybe 5-ish here. Okay, good. And then what you could possibly do is, yeah, then now if you want, you can start working on everything. You can say grade, yeah, just for a change, grade, and then you could tweak your whole image, including the background, if that's what you want. But this is another step. This is color correction. It is not compositing anymore, because compositing is working on matching the foreground and the background, which basically means you're going to tweak one of them or the other. But then compositing in general, yeah, color grading in general is part of compositing, but the target of matching the foreground with the background, that's what we have achieved with this one over here. Okay, now of course you can tweak the colors even further. You can work on the reds alone. You could do whatever you want now. Okay, so this sums up now the approach of what we have done. Let me just see, what have we done? Just to summarize very, very quickly, we have started with the green screen footage of absolutely rubbish quality. It's a stock footage of H.264. It has so many mistakes, enough mistakes for us to have fun exploring how to fix them. This is not an excuse to have rubbish quality video when you're recording. Start with RAW, please. Right. We have taken the approach of specialization. Yes, we have only used keylight. We have here plenty of options. We used keylight because I wanted to get keylight NUKE a bit closer to After Effects users, so that they are able actually to get going with a keyer they already know, because keylight is already in After Effects. Okay, it's not an excuse to use just one keyer, because if you ask from your one keyer just one thing, you're gonna end up with compromise. The matte, the core matte is suffering, the edges are suffering, and you are suffering, and because you're asking too much from your keyer. So we have split the task. The key light number 1 is taking care of the core mat, doesn't care about the edges. The key light number 2 takes care of the edges, doesn't care about the core mat. Okay, they have finished their work. This one has 3 steps. This one has 3 steps. If you just want to keep a checklist in your mind, or you want to remember how to do that, step 1, 2, 3, step 1, 2, 3. Step 1 was what? Get me the core mat. Step 2 was what? Was to remove the edges. Step 3 was to give the core mat to key light 2 by changing the view to intermediate result. Okay, that's one. Key light number 2 has 3 steps as well. Take very good care of the edges by starting with the right color of the green, having enough noise, fine. But then the key was the rollback. The magic parameter was the rollback, okay? And because we've gone a bit off board with the rollback, we have used what? We have used the erode. So we have removed our exaggeration, we have removed it with the erode. That was step number 1. Step number 2 was what? Was to bring in the mat that we have put in the waiting room. Step number 3 is to change the colors. And that's what we have done with, what was it? Inside replace source. Now, bringing this has caused us an issue that we bring in more green from the source. So we need to make a dispill. Dispill can be done with plenty of ways. I just thought, just for enriching your toolbox, I've added an expression. What does expression say? It just says if the green is higher than red, just make green and red the same. Fine. But if you do it on the whole footage, you're going to change the background as well. So we need to mask it using what? Using the core mat that we had. This is why we needed to have very subtle eroding, not an exaggerated one. And we are going to match the lighting if there is any problem with the lighting, or any other color adjustment that you want, or any other adjustment that you want. It can be masked using this core mat, okay? Using this core mat. And now this is one of plenty of ways how to do green screen keying in NUKE Studio.